The Mortal Kombat movie will soon be releasing in the United States on April 23rd, and it's going to be shown both in cinemas as well as simultaneously on the HBO Max streaming service. The movie is a reboot of the original movie way back in 1995, and unlike the first Mortal Kombat movie, which was given a PG-13 rating, meaning that the franchise's famous use of gore and violence had to be toned down considerably, the new movie has been given a R rating for strong bloody violence and language throughout, and some crude references. However, some further big news was revealed on April 6th. Here, Warner Bros. Japan has announced that the new movie will be seeing a full Japanese release, including in cinemas. Now, just on its own, this is obviously some great news for those over in Japan. However, this is actually much more interesting and a much bigger deal than it may first seem. You see, unlike over in the West, where Mortal Kombat is one of the biggest video game franchises there is, and has been a huge part of popular culture ever since its introduction in the early 90s, the same can't be said over in Japan. You see, over in Japan, none of the games have been released in the country ever since Mortal Kombat Trilogy for the PlayStation 1, which is pretty much the last game in the franchise to see a release over in Japan. Up until Mortal Kombat Trilogy, however, the games were released in Japan, and there was even a special Japan exclusive port of Mortal Kombat 2 for the PlayStation 1. However, the series' lack of a Japanese release has nothing to do with the franchise's popularity over in Japan. And unfortunately for Japanese fans, this is a result of the Computer Entertainment Rating Organization, which is Japan's video game rating system. Now, fans of Japanese media will know that Japanese media, such as movies and anime, can have some very violent themes at times. However, despite violent themes being something you can find in countless examples of Japanese media, when it comes to video games, things are treated a little differently due to the rules of the Computer Entertainment Rating Organization. Now, Japan's video game rating system was created much later than most other video game rating systems around the world, with it being created in the early 2000s. And its creation is seen as a response to a wave of growing controversies amongst the Japanese public, with this being spurred on by a series of real-life killings that had occurred in the country in the late 90s. And so, when Japan's video game rating system was created, it enacted a variety of rules for what content games are allowed to show. And this means that even for games with the highest age rating possible, there is a wide range of content that's not allowed to be depicted in Japanese games. And this includes various levels of violent expression. And so, despite these themes being able to be found in other forms of media, the other forms of media don't have the Computer Entertainment Rating Organization regulating them. And again, these rules were originally created way back in the early 2000s. And despite in recent years getting a little bit less strict in certain areas, a game like Mortal Kombat will not be allowed to be released in Japan with the current rules of the Computer Entertainment Rating Organization. And so this means that, unlike over in the West, where the franchise has been allowed to continue to grow and develop, and has had countless games released, unfortunately over in Japan this isn't the case. And so there being a Japanese release of the new movie, including in cinemas, is definitely very notable. The first two movies were also released in Japan, however, in the 90s, and even had a Japanese dub. Also, the Japanese press release from Warner Bros. Is also quite interesting, as here we have Warner Bros. Talking about the new movie despite the games not being released. And for instance, they say that the franchise is currently unreleased in Japan due to the cruelty of fatality. And they seem to mention the fatalities a lot to build up a sense of hype and excitement. Another thing they talk about are two of the actors in the movie, this being the actors for both Raiden and Scorpion, who are both Japanese and are actually famous actors over in Japan. And this, in combination with the fatalities, seems to be one of the ways that Warner Bros. Are really trying to market and build up excitement for the movie over in Japan. Also, the movie will be released in Japan a little later than everywhere else in the world, with it releasing June 18th. And so yes, it's going to be interesting to see how well the Mortal Kombat movie does over in Japan. Now, at the start of the video, I mentioned that Mortal Kombat Trilogy was pretty much the last game in the franchise to see a release over in Japan, but there is actually one other release, and this is the Mortal Kombat mobile game for iOS and Android. However, this is something that wasn't brought up at all in Warner Warner Bros. Press release. However, one other big thing that's worth mentioning is a stipulation of the Computer Entertainment Rating Organization that is very relevant in Mortal Kombat's case. And this is the fact that the Computer Entertainment Rating Organization is only responsible for console releases of video games. This means it would be possible to release Mortal Kombat in the country on platforms like PC. However, for some reason, this hasn't happened. And so it's very possible that perhaps one day this could change, and Mortal Kombat could finally get a Japanese release again as a unrated release over on PC. And perhaps if the movie ends up doing well, that could make this happening more likely. What are your thoughts on Mortal Kombat over in Japan? As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments below and hit that subscribe button for more videos on how media is changed around the world. Until next time, thank you for watching.